Hey, what's going on, guys? So, making another video. I guess I'll pick up where we left off. These are just scenarios that you might see in the shop. So, in the last video, we talked about checking ground with a test light or a meter, and also checking power with the meter or a test light. So today I want to go over checking wire continuity to end. So then we'll pick let's pick something different. We'll pick the canister purge valve. So the canister purge valve is considered an output. There's inputs and outputs. One example of an output is a purge valve. An input would be like a cam sensor or a camshaft position, crankshaft position sensor. Input is a sensor that sends signal to the engine control module. That's considered an input. A purge valve requires power and ground to activate, so that's just considered an output. So let's I'll show you how to check resistance in case you were checking to see if there's a broken wire from the purge valve to the PCM. So we're working on a 2022 Hyundai Santa Fe with the 2.5 turbo Smart Stream engine. So that would be considered a TMA right here. This is my personal car. It's my family car. My wife drives it every day. I drive the Beamer, and I also have a 2014 Hyundai Santa Fe. I work in Orange County, and I live in Corona. For anybody that's familiar with Southern California, that drive sucks. Alright, so engine electrical, engine control system. Now we're going to look for our purge valve, canister purge valve. So purge control solenoid is what it's labeled as in the wiring diagram. Okay, so let's look at the wiring diagram. So let's say that the vehicle came in with the active trouble code for the purge valve. You perform the actuation test and no luck. You don't hear the solenoid activate. And then you hit it with the power probe and it activates. So that tells you that the solenoid is good, because when you power probe it, you're adding direct power and you're cutting off the wire harness from the vehicle and the control module, etc. So you know for sure, because you bench tested it, that the solenoid is good. So next we're going to dive deep into the wiring diagram. So here I'm looking at my purge control solenoid. I hope you guys can see through the camera. Let's see. Anyways, I lost connection. But we have a red wire and we have a black wire. So it's a simple circuit. It's power and ground. So pin 1 is red with a black stripe, and that gets power from sensor 2, 10 amp fuse located in the PCB block. So our first step would be to check for voltage at pin 1, red wire. And according to my wiring diagram, that is supposed to be hot at all times. It says right here. So if the main relay is closed, then all these fuses are loaded or hot. So I'm just going to turn the key on and see if that's the case. Alright, and then again we're setting our meter to volts DC, straight line, direct current. You're going to put your black test lead on the battery ground. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I use this little wire extension you get them on Amazon. This is a Matco set. I'm using this because the test lead is too thick, and we don't want to damage the connector or the pin. In this case, we're going to back probe it. Back probing meaning we're going from the back of the connector. So red with black stripe. Okay. We are making good contact because we have voltage. So we're reading battery voltage, 12.39 volts. So back to the wiring diagram. So we know that the fuse is good and my wire is good from there to the PCM, or else I wouldn't have power. So now we know that more than likely we're chasing a ground issue. This is, like I said, this is just a scenario. This car doesn't have any issues, but I'm trying to spread some knowledge on how to diagnose cars in the field. So let's say you determine that there is no ground at the pin 2, which is a black wire. That ground comes from the PCM. So it could either be a bad PCM or it could be a broken wire. So to start pointing fingers at the PCM, we need to make sure that the wire is good from the PCM to the purge control solenoid. And we need to do that by pin 72 of connector Charlie 200 kilo right here. So pin 72 is right there. And then if we go to component, it tells us which connector it is because the PCM has 2. So 100K is the one closest to the firewall, which would be this guy here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and shut off my key. And we're going to unplug the purge solenoid. You can see we have a 2-pin connector. Pin 1 is our power, red with black stripe according to the wiring diagram, and then we have a black. 99 times out of 100, black is always going to be a ground circuit. I have seen it in the past where it is not, so you always got to look at your wiring diagrams. We can't just go trying to diagnose blindly. And then C200K, this guy here. So let me try to do this. So C200K, pin 72. So this is our blow up of the connector face. So the way we view this is we're looking at the connector like this. And you can see there's big pins on the right side. And your big pins are here. So say you were like this, you got to rotate the connector to look like this. So this is the correct connector. So let's back probe our ground circuit on the purge side, or whatever you're testing the component. So we're gonna go here. We're back probing the purge, and then we're gonna put our ground to the alligator clip like so, and our red test lead is going to go to the PCM pin destination wherever we're testing, which is pin 72. Pin 72 is second row, third pin, left to right. So second row, third pin, left to right. Okay. So like I said in the previous video, when front probing any component, we don't want to use anything too wide, and we don't want to force anything inside of the pin. This end of the wire harness is a female. So if we shove something in that's wider than the actual pin of the PCM, which is really, they're pretty small, then we're going to create a poor contact new problem, right? So we're connected at the purge control valve with the black lead. So now we're barely going to touch the pin here. We're not shoving it in the hole, and we're going to set our meter to ohms. And there you can see 1.9 ohms of resistance. If it was OL and I was for sure making contact on both ends, and that tells me that the wire is broken somewhere from the PCM to the purge control valve. At that point, I would need to start peeling the harness and checking from here to, short sections until you find where you lose continuity. I hope that makes sense. So black lead is to the black wire. The destination is the purge control valve. And then the PCM, which controls the purge control valve. So that tells me 1.8 ohms. That tells me that the wire is not broken and it is intact from end to end. Like I said in the last video, this meter does tend to give me high resistance values. At work, I use a snap-on, and that one I bet money on that one. I use it every day or whenever I need it at work. Flukes are really, really good as well. All right, so yesterday we were talking about checking the ground circuit for the ignition coil. So let's say that we checked our wiring from the PCM or powertrain control module, engine control module, whatever you want to call it, to the purge control solenoid. So we ensured our power was good, and then we made sure that our ground wire had good resistance from end to end, but we still cannot actuate the purge control solenoid using our diagnostic tablet or scan tool. You hit actuate and the solenoid doesn't work, but you verify that the solenoid is good by bench testing it with the power probe. So next, the final step to deem that the PCM is bad, you would get your test light, like I mentioned in the last video. So we know that we're checking for a ground signal, right, from the PCM. Then you would place your alligator clip on your positive terminal, and then you would back probe this black wire. And when you hit the actuation test in the diagnostic tablet or scanner, this test light should illuminate if the PCM is adding the ground to close the circuit. If it doesn't, then your problem is inside of the PCM. Hope this video helps you guys out in one way or another. Let me know if you guys want to see anything in specific. Making videos every day, just whatever comes to mind. Like I said, I do want to spread knowledge and help people that are really starting off. When I started off in the game, it was dog eat dog for sure. So that's why I love to help people, even in the shop. When I started off, I started in 2010, I believe. My first job was at a Firestone, and I remember I rolled up with a tiny little toolbox, and the dudes were like, well, what are you working on bicycles or something? And they were just riding me, dude. And I would ask them for help, and it's not like it is now, man. I tell a lot of the youngsters, like, you guys got it made because you guys got people like me and other people in the shop that are willing to help. But back then, I mean, I'm sure it still exists now where, everybody's for themselves and nobody wants to help out. So yeah, let me know if you guys want to see anything else, and I'll try to whip something up for you. Peace.